This is my beaten up Sony A7R Mark I. I took this camera all across the globe. I did everything ranging from commercial campaign photography to taking portraits of people in towns you've never heard of before, all the way to going to different countries and continents to photograph people for nonprofits. I decided to do a shoot with this camera, but Rens was so kind to lend me a pristine one to use for a photo shoot. But when I got it, I just got really curious and wondered if this one that's so destroyed would still work. And lo and behold, the thing turned on. So I decided then and there that this beaten up camera would be my main camera and the pristine one would be a great backup camera and for B-roll as well. But without further ado, my good buddy, Noel, he needs some press photos because he's starting a music career. So I'm gonna help him out, take some portraits of him and have some fun with this camera. And let's just go there and we'll talk a little bit further about this camera in detail while I'm doing the shoot. All right, see you in a bit. Today I had the 51.4 from Contax with a Frankenstein double adapter, don't judge me, and I also had a 35mm f1.4 art from Sigma that Rens graciously gave to me to use on the newer looking body, but I decided of course to shoot everything on my crappy destroyed old A7R. And I really enjoyed the fact that, you know, it's still workable. The camera, after all these years sitting still, there are still amazing results to be had, and as you can see, the photos look great. When I was shooting this today, it kind of took me back to all those beautiful times that I had with this camera, but it also reminded me of all of the limitations. The quite lacking electronic viewfinder. If you want to zoom in and punch in, you have to double press the button. You first select your focus point and then double press the back button again to get that critical focus. But it was really wonderful, especially because I used to also use it with the Sigma art lenses for campaign commercial work. And when you turn that focus ring, it automatically crops in for you, and which means you can hit that critical focus without having to press a button first. So it would do that for you. And then the other challenge with this camera is the fact that its shutter is quite old, mechanical and heavy. So at certain shutter speeds, there is a slight risk that you have a little bit of a camera shake or a sensor shake look to it. So having a steady hand, because it lacks image stabilization in body, something to keep in mind when you're using this camera. And also important to know is that it also lacked an AA filter, which was very attractive to a lot of portrait photographers and landscape photographers. The downside being though that moire is an issue, and I also used it on fashion shoots. I didn't really have much issue with it. I had way more issues with the A7R IV on a shoot with moire. But then again, you know, Lightroom is really optimized well to decrease moire in post-production. So, you know, that's basically the experience I had today. I had a wonderful time and really happy to have spent some time with a good buddy of mine. And let's just round it up, go back to the studio and tell you my last thoughts and feelings and if you should gas or pass this camera. Now that was a lot of fun, not just because it took me down memory lane, but it was also interesting to find out how my good old A7R would do on a modern-ish shoot. Now for a camera that's been sitting there collecting so much dust, I was really surprised by the fact that it just functioned perfectly. And it's a testament to this first generation camera that even after such a long time taking so many pictures, it still just did great. I had no issues with it at all, besides the fact that it just looks like absolute ass. But that to me is character and history. But now onto the more practical stuff, right? Who should buy this camera? Well, it kind of depends on who you are at this point in time. Do you like vintage glass? Do you want a very cheap but high resolution camera? This camera might be interesting if you take those small little irks and quirks in stride, right? If you can get over the slightly worse EVF, if you can keep in the back of your head that the shutter could be a little bit heavy and it's just simply an outdated camera, you might have an incredible machine to work with. Because if you're just looking for a good sensor to pair with vintage glass, you're golden with this camera, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're looking for something that also needs autofocus, that needs to be able to shoot quick, this is not the camera for you. Please let it go. But if you, like me, love all cameras equally, I think you should buy it. But on the other hand, you know, it doesn't really matter. You can't go wrong with any camera from this era. But just to make a point that this camera could still be usable for a very select group of people. And the final question, of course, did this camera cure my gas? Nope.